Imagine Luka Dončić, the size, the pace, the passing, the impossible feel for the game, but now give him something he never had, a 40-inch vertical, a real leaper. That's the pitch on one of the most fascinating prospects in this draft, a 6'8" playmaker from Mexico who moves like Luka and jumps out of the gym. So let's ask it, is Karim Lopez really Luka Dončić with hops? Here's the plan. First, who Karim Lopez actually is. Then, skill set number 1, the Luka-style game, the size, the pace, the vision, and the path. Then skill set number 2, the elite athleticism Luka never had. Then his production, his ceiling, and an honest look at the bust risk. Everything is verified. The comparison is a trait-by-trait analysis, not a promise. Let's meet him. This is Game is Culture. If you love prospects broken down by what actually translates, hit subscribe. We're chasing 1,000, it's free, and it helps a ton. Now, who is Karim Lopez? Who is Karim Lopez? Karim Lopez is a 19-year-old forward from Mexico, and the measurements pop. At the combine, he came in at 6'8¼ barefoot, 222 pounds, with a 6'11.5" wingspan, and the widest hands in the entire class. He spent this season playing professionally for the New Zealand Breakers, and he's widely projected as a lottery pick. The frame alone is special. Skill set 1, the Luka game. Start with what makes the comparison real. He's a tall perimeter playmaker. At 6'8", Lopez mirrors Doncic's height almost exactly, and that size lets him do Luka things. Pass over the top of smaller defenders, survey the whole floor with an uninterrupted view, and back smaller players down in mismatches. Big playmakers who see the game from above are the rarest, most valuable creators in basketball. Then the rhythm, and this is the most Luka thing about him. Neither player wins with blazing first step speed. Instead, both use a controlled, deliberate European change of pace, hesitation dribbles, deceptive body language, and pump fakes to freeze defenders and create space. It's a craft-based game, not an athleticism-based one. Lopez manipulates defenders with tempo, the exact skill that makes Doncic unguardable despite average burst. And underneath it all is the feel. Both players process the game faster than their peers. Doncic does it as a primary floor general, Lopez does it as a connector, but the wiring is the same. They spot defensive rotations early, manipulate help defenders with their eyes, and fire accurate cross-court skip passes. That kind of innate court vision at 19 is the trait scouts dream about, because you can't teach it. Even their paths rhyme. Doncic famously left home to join Real Madrid's academy at 13, playing against grown men in the EuroLeague before he turned 18. Lopez left Mexico as a young teenager for the youth pipeline at Juventud Badalona in Spain, made his pro debut in the competitive Spanish league, then moved on to the New Zealand Breakers. Both skipped the American route and grew up against professionals. That maturity shows. So that's skill set 1, the Luka half. A 6'8" playmaker with a controlled, crafty change of pace, elite court vision, and the poise of a kid who grew up battling professionals overseas. On its own, that profile makes him a lottery prospect, but it's not the part that makes this comparison go viral. That's the second skill, the one Luka was never blessed with. Skill set 2, the hops. Here's the kicker. At the NBA Draft Combine, Karim Lopez recorded a 38-inch max vertical. 38 inches, just shy of 40, for a 220-pound, 6'8" forward. He added a 32-inch standing leap and elite agility times. That is genuinely explosive athleticism, the exact trait that Luka Dončić, for all his greatness, has simply never had. This is the superpower bolted onto the skill. And this is why the comparison is so fun. Luka's one true knock, the thing opponents scheme around, is his lack of explosion. He can't always finish above the rim, recover on defense, or blow by a set defender. Now imagine that same skill, pace, and vision, but attached to a body that can sky for a lob, chase down a block, and explode in transition. You take Luka's biggest weakness and turn it into a strength.
And the bounce isn't just a combine number, it shows up. Lopez is a real threat in transition, finishes above the rim, and uses that length and leap defensively. He had a 4-block game this season to go with 17 points and 10 rebounds. The athleticism is why he grabs over 6 rebounds a game as a wing and projects as a potential two-way player, not just an offensive connector. Beyond Luka, what's all his own? And here's where Lopez stops being a Luka clone and becomes his own player, the defensive end. Doncic offers almost nothing as a rim protector. Lopez does. With a 6'11.5" wingspan and an 8'9.5" standing reach, he blocked a shot a game in the NBL and routinely played above the rim, rotating over to erase shots from the weak side. That's a skill the comparison player simply does not have. And it's not just blocks, it's disruption everywhere. Lopez averaged over a steal a game, jumping passing lanes with those huge hands, and once posted a 5-steal game this season. In fact, he was the only player in his entire league to average at least 6 rebounds, a block, and a steal while turning the ball over fewer than 2 times a night. That two-way, low-mistake profile is genuinely rare for any teenager. This is the part of his game that's entirely his own. Where Luka is a defender you have to hide, Lopez projects as a multi-positional stopper who can guard wings, switch onto bigs, and protect the rim behind the play. Pair that defensive versatility with the offensive feel, and you're not describing a Luka clone anymore. You're describing a true two-way forward, which in today's NBA is arguably even more valuable. And his offense has its own identity too. He shot nearly 50% from the field, kept his turnovers low, and built his game on real physical strength, finishing through contact rather than relying on finesse. He isn't a high-volume gunner forcing the issue. He's a sturdy, efficient connector who plays above the rim, runs the floor, and lets the game come to him. That low mistake maturity is exactly what teams covet in a young forward. The production. Now the honest numbers. In the NBL this season, Lopez averaged about 12 points, 6 rebounds, and 2 assists a game. Those aren't gaudy totals, but context is everything. He posted them as a teenager against grown professional men in one of the toughest leagues outside the NBA. And his playmaking is trending up. His assists nearly doubled from the year before. The arrow is pointing in the right direction. And that's the right way to read a young international prospect. Doncic didn't put up monster scoring numbers as a teenager in Europe either. He grew into a superstar by dominating men in spurts and refining his game year over year. Lopez is on a similar track, a teenager holding his own and improving in a pro league. The production is a floor, not a ceiling. The tools say the ceiling is much higher. The ceiling. So what's the dream? If it all comes together, you get a 6'8", 220-pound wing who passes and reads the game like a primary creator, controls tempo like a European maestro, and finishes and defends with genuine NBA athleticism. That combination, size, skill, IQ, and explosion in one body, is exactly the modern, switchable, playmaking forward that every contender is desperate to find. The ceiling is a two-way star. Now, a fair, realistic projection. Right now, Lopez profiles as a connector, not a number one option. A smart, versatile wing who makes winning plays, defends multiple positions, and pushes the break. That alone is a valuable starter. The Luka comparison is about the traits, the size, pace, and vision, plus the athletic upside. It is not a prediction that he becomes a perennial MVP. Let's be clear-eyed about that. The bust risk. And there are real questions. 12 points a game is modest, so he has to prove he can score and create at a higher volume against NBA athletes. His jump shot needs to become consistent and reliable, and being a connector with great feel is valuable, but it's not the same as being the engine Doncic is. If the shot doesn't come and the scoring stays low, he's a role player, not a star. That's the honest downside.
That's the gap between the highlight hook and the scouting reality. The viral version is Luka with a 40-inch vertical, and the traits genuinely rhyme. The grounded version is a high-feel, athletic 6'8" playmaking wing with real two-way upside and a jumper to prove. Both can be true at once. The fun of the comparison doesn't erase the work he still has to do. It just explains why scouts are dreaming. The verdict. So how real is Luka with a vertical? As a literal prediction, temperate. Almost nobody becomes Luka Dončić. But as a trait comparison, it's legitimately strong. The size, the change of pace, the vision, and the European pro path all line up. And the 38-inch vertical adds the one ingredient Luka never had. That combination of skill and explosion is rare enough to make Lopez one of the most intriguing swings in the entire draft. Where does he go? As a projected lottery pick and arguably the top international prospect in the class, Lopez is a perfect target for a patient team. One that doesn't need him to produce tomorrow and can let his feel and athleticism marinate. Drop him next to a ball-dominant star, let him connect, cut, defend, and grow, and in 3 years, that team might look very, very smart. So there's the full picture. 2 elite skill sets in one 19-year-old. Skill set 1, the Luka package. 6'8" size, a crafty change of pace, elite vision, and a pro pedigree forged in Europe. Skill set 2, a 38-inch vertical and genuine athleticism the comparison player never had. Put them together and you understand exactly why this kid is rocketing up draft boards. So is Karim Lopez really Luka Dončić with a 40-inch vertical? The traits rhyme, the bounce is real, and the upside is tantalizing, even if the jumper and the scoring still have to prove it. So where would you draft him? And do you buy the comparison, or is it too rich? Tell me below. And if you want every draft prospect broken down like this, subscribe and join the family.